Questions?
Yeah, I thought last week was great experience for our team. We were able to get through Saturday without Mike Matthews playing center and playing Jordan Master Giovanni a little bit in the first quarter. Held Ivan Robinson and got great experience for our young players So, for us to operate in the way we did offensively, the average almost, 9, 10 yards of play, and then defensively to have our young guys come out and particularly up front, play very well and get some of the young guys the experience that they needed. I think that's something that we needed to do as we make this run through the SEC, because we have a number of players that needed to show that they could handle any kind of situation. Justin Manning was one of those guys that hadn't really done much since he's been here. Played well. I'm hoping it's not just because he was in Dallas, or maybe I do hope it's because he's in Dallas since we're headed back there. But for whatever the reason, he was the highest rated recruited inside D lineman we had, and we ended up redshirting him last year. He played very well Saturday. So. Get Sean Washington back, and for him to have a couple sacks and play in the manner he played, I think that was important going into this week. So, the defensive depth is something that we've talked about. It's something that we've tried to address here, and to get those guys on the field and have them play in any situation is good. And to be able to travel and get to Dallas and really duplicate the scenario of the bus ride and the same game time, I think that was important for preparation, particularly with a bunch of young guys who haven't really played at 2:30 a couple times this year. So there are a lot of positives out of that, getting to play about everybody, and really only one significant injury, and that was probably Alex Caesar with a twisted ankle. So we'll see.
Oh, here, Gabe.
Coach, could you walk us through the challenge that Arkansas's running game presents your defense?
Yeah, it's the same challenge that Arkansas's running game presents everybody. They're the number one rushing team right now in the country. I think we're the top 2 scoring teams in the league and 2 of the top 3 in the country, with really 2 contrasting styles. They've got 2 fabulous running backs. I think the point total has become interesting to me based on who they've played, because you can run the ball the way they've run it, but I think where they've really improved, they've always been big and strong. They've got 2 or 3 outstanding backs, but I think the quarterback play has really improved. Keon Hatcher is a threat on the outside and can loosen you up. They've got I saw a stat the other day in their press release. They've got the largest offensive line. If their offensive line was in the NFL, they'd be the biggest guys in the NFL, so let alone our league. So those are some big guys that they run behind, and then they create a lot of problems for you right now from a passing standpoint. I think, yeah, we talk about their running backs who are tremendous players, but I think Brandon Allen has really improved as a passer and being accurate in their play action game and quick game stuff. So, you got to be on your P's and Q's to be able to handle that. You can't score that many points just running the ball all the time. And they've created big plays out of their running game. Sure, they've scored a lot of rushing touchdowns, but they've gotten loose deep on people, and they also lead the country in kickoff returns. So they've already returned those. So that they're starting. They're averaging 30-some yards a kickoff return, which is giving them great field position. They're running the ball really well, and their play-action game has become a big deal. So they are a much improved football team over last year. I would argue that they should be ranked. You've got one loss to a top 5 opponent, and you go on the road and beat a Big 12 opponent by 3 touchdowns. And then come back and beat in Northern Illinois, who's been playing pretty good football. So, I would argue that they should be a top 25 team.
Middle left here, Sam.
two status checks, Speedy Noyle and Cam Clear. What are their statuses?
Cam played last week, and we'll see about Speedy.
Okay, so Cam didn't re-injure himself on Saturday.
Who told you that?
I just saw him with the street closed in the second half.
Yeah, well, he's all right.
And Speedy's, we'll see.
We'll see.
And what you mentioned the size of their line. Is it just their offensive line or their technique-wise? What is it? Why is it they run the ball so well?
It's what they do. You know, there was no difference. That people asked that at Wisconsin. I mean, it's what you spend your time doing. And I've said this. There's a million ways to skin a cat, and how you do things, and there's no arguing that they're very, very good at what they do. And that's been Brett's deal when he was at Wisconsin, and he's stuck to his guns on that. And you can see that's what you believe in. And so, when you're good at something, you understand not only how to do it, but you understand the problems that come along with it. and how to rectify those problems, so yeah, there's a combination of things. There's experience, there's knowing what to do, it's an attitude, and it's belief in your system. And there's no doubt that they believe in it. And like I said, they might have taken their lumps last year, but it's evident right now that they're a very, very confident football team, and they should be based on the way they've played. You know, they're winning 3 in a row.
Middle right.
Coach, we saw Myles Garrett come out and be explosive this season, and same thing with Washington in the game against SMU. Are there any other defensive players that you're kind of waiting to see kind of break out and have those explosive games? And do you think Arkansas is a big opportunity for some of those players to step up?
Yeah, we'd like for any defensive player to break out like that. So I don't care who it is. You know, we've got a couple guys that have potential, but you know, you never know the way things. You know, Sean Washington, I think, has been overlooked last week. I thought his just the fact that he came back and played the way he played shows that he's got the potential to be one of those guys. So we have a number of guys like that, but until it really happens, like it's happened really for those two, you don't know. You know, but I think we're getting better. I said after the game, you know, we'll see where we are after Saturday. Yeah, it'll be a great test for us to really see up front, particularly in our front seven, you know, where we are as a defensive front and where we are as a team.
Front left.
Coach, you mentioned the strengths of Arkansas, their power run game and whatnot. I was wondering if that matchup fit your eye defensively, considering the depth that you've been able to establish with your defensive line in the first 4 games. Do you like that particular matchup from a defensive perspective?
What do you think? You know, when you're playing against somebody that's what they do. You know, we've recruited to that point, and that's why I said last week we'll figure out where we are after this game because of what they do. So, as a coach, do I like that matchup? That's the matchup we got, whether I like it or not.
We'll go with Christie and then to the back.
Can you talk about the depth of your receiving core overall and how that's helped Kenny step into and be successful in his starting role?
Yeah, I think we've completed balls of, 14, 15 guys, something like that. You name it, from highly recruited guys to a guy named Boone Niederhofer, who nobody knew who he was till last week. So, you know, we've got confidence in those guys. You play in a system like we play. You know, we're going to have 8 guys at least that are going to rotate during the game. And I know a lot of things are being said out there in recruiting, particularly right now, that, you know, certain guys, why would you go there and play wide receiver? They're loaded. And you know, if that's the case, then that's the case. If you're scared, then this ain't the place for you. We got plenty of guys that play here. We've got highly recruited guys, and we've got Boone Niederhofer, who nobody recruited, who can walk out on that field and catch 8 balls for how many ever yards and do whatever. The best players play here, and we rotate through that. And so you have guys like Boone, you've got guys like Malcolm Kennedy, who has been here forever, you know, Travis Labhart, who's another guy who just was practicing against the girls' basketball team, and next thing you know, he's getting a pro tryout. So, you know, we've got confidence in what we do and how we train our receivers, and you know, they earn that kind of confidence in practice. And I think, you know, it's not just from Kenny, but, you know, guys like Boone and Jeremy Tabayo, guys like that who had big games last week, you know, they earn that kind of respect in practice and in games, and that respect is important for everybody at their position and the coaches. So, yeah, I think we've got some depth. You know, if we stay healthy, we could be pretty good in that position. I think we've done that and that's what the rotation's all about.
Go to the back and then back left.
With Trey Flowers for Arkansas, he presents a big challenge. How are you guys going to handle him on Saturday?
Well, we've got to block him, I would guess, would be my answer. You know, just like a bunch of other guys. You know, so you know, Trey Flowers I think he's second right now in active players in our league in sacks. He was Defensive Player of the Week last week in the SEC. So, you know, the way things are right now in this stretch we're getting ready to get into, we're going to see that a lot. Trey's a very, very talented guy, gifted, and they have a number of other guys that create some issues up front. So, you know, we're going to have to just like anything else. We're in the SEC now, the SEC West, and the way this team's playing, you know, we're going to have to be at our best Saturday afternoon to win this game. And I don't think that's going to change from this weekend to the rest of the year.
Go back left, then Jimmy, Kate, and Brent.
Coach, time of possession, is that a concern back here in the corner? Is the time of possession an issue obviously with them holding the ball for as long as they do? Do you have to make any adjustments on the offensive side of the ball to try and hang on to it longer?
No.
Hey, Jimmy?
Yeah, Coach, you've jumped out quickly. And
where you at, Jimmy?
I'm over here.
Okay,
I'm
you're hiding back here. You're usually up here.
Yeah,
you get here late?
I had stopped made a mistake of stopping for lunch. So I was going to ask you, as far as the play calling with Coach Spav, you know, you guys have come out firing on all cylinders, jumped on people every game so far, even you know, had a good bowl game under him eventually. What do you like best about him as a play caller? What does he bring to the table?
I think you know, the guys that we've had, you know, we've got a foundation that we believe in. But we've been fortunate to have a number of guys that have been able to put their personality into it or on the system, and you know, he's a guy that studies the game a lot. I think he's a guy that communicates well with our team, and certainly with the quarterback. And I think his demeanor is such that he gets the most out of the players, and he's got a good feel for it too. You know, so we've been in all kinds of games so far, but I think his big strength is you know, the ability to go through the week and really have a plan that we can execute, not a plan that our coaches want to be able to execute, or but a plan that our players can execute with a young quarterback and with different people, and and not get crazy with it. You know, a lot of times it's not what you think as a coach, or, you know, like I've said before, I think people get caught up, you know, with the coaching during the week and, well, did you make adjustments at halftime? As coaches, you make adjustments at halftime. Sometimes the players can't handle those adjustments. And so to be able to give them a skill set, a toolbox we talk about that our players can execute and can adjust to is a big deal, and I think he does a really, really good job of that in game. As I said, the first game, we had a huge package for Cam Clear. 7 minutes and some seconds into the game, he's out. And we didn't panic. I think he just took a big pen and crossed out that and put in some other stuff that we could handle until we could get guys settled down, you know, move Ricky in there a little bit, and then moved on with the game plan. So, you know, adjustments like that become important in the game. But I think the communication with the staff and with the players is a big part of it, and with B.J. Anderson and David Beatty and Clarence and, you know, everybody who's there. So I mean, I think he understands how to communicate with the players and the coaches as well as anybody I've been around.
We'll go Kate, Brent, Cease, and then Dennis.
Kevin, you touched on this a little bit, but I think everybody in the SEC West is ranked, besides Arkansas, which you think should be ranked. How do you really evaluate just the depth of this conference once you guys start getting into the division, once you guys start beating each other up? As a coach, how do you look at that?
It's you truly have to be 1 week at a time. You know, you can't. You know, who knows? You know, you play every week, and then you try to get through it. First of all, you try to win, then you try to stay healthy, and that's something hard to say the 5th week of the season, but that's the truth. We've got a number of capable teams, which you've seen, step outside our league and play very, very well. And then within the league, you know, some games that some people have been surprised by, some people haven't. So, you know, I think the focus for us, and I've said this before, and it's really not coach speak, it's on us, because every opponent we have in our league is capable of winning a lot of games and beating you. So, you know, you can't look past what's happening and what's going on this week. So the preparation is more about you and about this particular week than it is for the whole season. I think what we've tried to do here is approach the whole season in the off season by recruiting and by player development, and then get into the season and go week to week. So, you know, yeah, we look at the whole schedule before the season starts. You know, everybody's, you know, I'd be lying to you if I said, yeah, we didn't look at it. But then once you get into it, you can't you just can't because of the real potential and strength of these teams that you're going to play.
Follow up?
Well, a different question again, but I wanted to follow up on Tabuyo. Did he show up in your office Monday saying he deserved to start? And I'm curious about the backstory of getting him from Hawaii also.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He didn't show up wanting to start. But I was happy he didn't run out of bounds. He did make the effort tape, though, with 2 catches and, what do you have, 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's probably got the best percentage of points per catch for any receiver, but and maybe yards after catch. But, you know, he's a guy that we were actually recruiting Brian Polian when he was here. Had some ties in Hawaii, and we were actually recruiting a linebacker at his high school that we did not get and ended up going to another school on the West Coast. So who could have helped us too. But we did get Jeremy, and, you know, he's a good player. Yeah, I think he's a guy that played a little bit last year, but has really come into his own, dropped some weight, understands from a strength standpoint what's going on. Another guy that creates more depth, and you know, he goes in there. He plays a little bit more than people think. You know, just that was really the first time he's made it. We've seen him with the ball in his hands to do some things. So, you know, he's a young guy that you know, we're looking for big things for in his career.
Okay, Brent.
Well, what was it that caught your eye about Boone Niederhofer, and how did he become a part of the roster and obviously start earning some playing time?
Hey, it's a little bit like Travis Labhart. You know, he's a guy that goes over there in the scout team, and then one day he gets come over with our guys because we may be down, or we got a guy who we need to rest or whatever, and you tell these guys all the time, make the most of your opportunity. If you know what you're doing, then you get over here. You may or may not. It's hard on a backup player because you don't have the number of reps. You don't have the development that a lot of guys do, and I think it's unfair sometimes because as coaches, you stick them in there and they screw it up, and you're like, oh, I keep sending back over to that other field. You know, so you've got a few times to show that. Boone's been around. He understands it. He's a guy who can block. He's a guy that we have confidence in, and I think what's important is, as I said before, that confidence gets instilled in other players and in coaches during practice. you're able to show everybody, hey, we believe in you. I know what I'm doing before we stick you out there on the field. I think for the fans, it's the first time they see that. But it certainly validates his effort when it happens in a game. And so I think just like Jeremy and Boone, they've played quite a bit. You just haven't seen them with the ball. They've been on the perimeter blocking. They've been doing a lot of different things. But, they certainly took some steps last week to do something. So it's like Travis Labhart. I think it's kind of funny. As I said earlier, you'll get guys as highly recruited as Ricky and Speedy, and then, we'll have a guy practicing with the girls' basketball team, or Boone Niederhofer out there playing with them. So, those guys, what it says is you earn the right to play here, and if you prove during practice, it doesn't matter whether you're the highest recruited guy or a guy that just walks in here off the street, and if you demonstrate to us that we can trust you and you'll play hard and be unselfish and do the things we ask you to do, you're going to play here. And I think since I've been here, Travis has been a big example of that, and Boone certainly is that right now.
Cease.
Kevin, you're back at Purdue with Cheney. Was there ever a time that you thought you'd be coaching power football, and maybe what was the spark to get you away from that?
When we were at Purdue, we were not that. People told us that we were nuts because we came from Wyoming, and they said the weather was too cold, and that playing without a running back with all those receivers on the field wouldn't work. So 3-4 years later, we went to the Rose Bowl. But we all split up. He, I, Greg Olson, who's offensive coordinator at the Raiders, was the quarterback coach. Danny Hope was the line coach who eventually became the head coach. So, you evolved to different styles. I came here as an assistant coach and was involved in more of an I formation attack, and then got to some 3 wides and went to Oklahoma. So we've all evolved as coaches. But I think one of the great strengths that Joe Tiller had, or as a head coach, was to have guys like that who had some vision and did some things a little bit differently at that time, and to get Purdue to be a real competitive program at that time and get to the Rose Bowl, which was a pretty big deal at that time, and probably still would be if they could get back again.
Down front, Dennis.
Kevin, Kate kind of asked my questions, but what's it like to go through that gauntlet in the West, in the league, week after week, especially early? Alabama last year, South Carolina this year, where you have to be ready right away.
People I think have forgotten about that. I hear a bunch of talk about how we haven't played anybody, so I guess they forgot about the first week. And maybe we forgot about it too. So you're only as good as your recent week, and we get that. And I think that's why the focus has to be on what's coming up this week. You can't get consumed with the big picture, I don't think, in this league. You just can't. The games are fun to watch. Like I said, everybody's complaining. We get to watch a lot of football here in the last couple of weeks. We've been playing at 8 o'clock, and then the rain delay, I sat in there for 2 hours and got to watch some other people play. And then now we're starting to play 2:30, 11 o'clock, so we get to see some other people. And there's no use feeling sorry for yourself, because I watch some other people playing every week. It's going to be big for a lot of folks. So I think the great thing that we talk about here is it's a privilege to be playing, I think, at the highest level you can in college football. And the expectations and the venues, the national exposure, because the games are big. And there is something at stake in every week. And a lot of people can say that, but it's really not true. And I think in this league, particularly in the West, you've seen teams make dramatic improvement, and we're about to face one of those this weekend.
Are you surprised 4 weeks in, 5 are undefeated? That's a third of the way through the season.
Well, that's going to change. We all start playing each other. Every league. Right. I saw something the other day where, 40-some teams are undefeated right now, but you start playing league play, somebody's got to lose. So, that's kind of how that works.
And also, real quick, when Kenny threw his first interception, was there an emotional reaction either on the sidelines or within the game? Because I know he's so competitive.
Yeah, Ricky didn't get the signal, so that was the emotion.
But Kenny.
No. I think everybody was too busy yelling at Ricky at that point.
There's a comeback.
So he'll be mad about that. Yeah, he didn't get the signal. So the anticipation, but I think that tells you something about his anticipation and trust in his receiver. So, that was it. So, but still, that's a team mistake, and that communication may or may not be. Everybody yells at Ricky, but it's your responsibility too to make sure he gets that signal. So, that's a two-way street.
Christy, did you have one? I'm sorry. No? Okay.
Good.
Sam?
You guys give Cheney a hard time for switching to power football?
No. Jim's, he's been around. He's been in the NFL, he's Tennessee, and Arkansas. So he's, he knows what he's doing. I think there's no coincidence that their point total is the way it is. We're going to see some different stuff. I know that. We've got a DB coach that coached with him at Tennessee, and I've coached with him. I've known him a long time, and so I think you will expect to see a couple new wrinkles out of both teams, just based on guys knowing each other and having a familiarity with each other. So, there'll be some wrinkles from both sides, but it gets back to the original question to start the deal. It's to win the game, you're going to have to be who you are and execute whatever your offensive philosophy is and play good defense. For us, the key is going to be third downs and getting off the field. Same thing as every week, and I think where we're going to have to make some strides is in our turnover margin. Go back and look at the tape last week. As disappointed as I was that we didn't create any turnovers defensively, we did have 8 sacks, and a lot of those were coverage sacks, and the quarterback held on to the ball, so we got 8 sacks, where if he'd have thrown it up, we were there. So, that's what reviewing film says to you. You probably don't have 8 sacks. You might have a couple more turnovers. So we're getting better. But as I said, we'll have a better feel for where we are Saturday, 6 or 7 o'clock, something like that.
Wrap us up, Sam.
When you guys recruited Kenny, what was your first impression of him, and what made you believe in the recruiting process that he could play and succeed at this level?
Well, we actually recruited he and Cole Stewart, and people have forgotten about Cole. He was back in the building the other day in between. He's doing good. Boy, he looks good. So keep the door open for him. If he's 25 and it doesn't work out. But, he and we had them both, and there was a situation where, we basically told him that, Cole would have a situation where he may or may not come to school here. Left the door open, and he turned pro. Was he the 4th pick of the draft by the Twins? And so we felt good about both those guys. And we had guys leave the program, and Matt Davis, so Kenny was a guy who at South Lake Carroll had been around a system. Al Watson's done a fabulous job with that program and with quarterbacks. A number of quarterbacks that have played across the country, and a lot of people argue being a quarterback at South Lake is pressure a deal as there is, because of the expectation to not only be successful as a quarterback but to win and win it all. And to watch him win it all as a junior, it was a big deal. And in our eyes, because there's one thing Joe Tiller used to put a premium on, was that there's a lot of talented quarterbacks out there, but always recruit a guy who wins in high school, because when he doesn't, it becomes somebody else's fault. If he's that talented, why are they not winning? And so I kind of listen to that, and that's where you have guys like Kenny who have come through a program and won a state championship. There's something to that. That doesn't happen by luck, you know. And yeah, he's a good player and he's got other good players, but the expectation level is always there to play at a high level. So, you know, the bloodlines, you know, his demeanor, knowing what he was doing, you know, it was a good fit for us and a good fit for him. And I think he was comfortable from day one with us. And you know, the first day we were here, we had a junior day, and we actually brought he and Cole were here at the same day, junior day. And Cliff and I sat down with both of them and talked to them about both of them coming here and why we were recruiting both. And Cole was committing, and Kenny was still being recruited, but the reason why we wanted both of them here and having one guy understand, hey, you might turn pro, so we've got to take two guys. And you know, Kenny never wavered at that. He was ready to compete whether or not Cole was here or not. That makes sense? And so we've had a number of guys in different situations like that do that. And to me, that says a lot about him as a person. It says a lot about his family and about his confidence level and his own ability to come in here. And because quarterbacks don't come places to sit on the bench. You know, it's different than any other position where you got four, you know, DBs, you can move them around, or linemen, or, you know, a linebacker. There's only one guy, and they're used to being the man. So, you know, for him to say, hey, I'm coming and I'm going to compete and I want to start, says a lot about his confidence level, and we really like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.